So hello and welcome to Let's Talk Paper, Projects and Best Practices for School and Home. We have participants joining today from across Canada. So good morning to those from the west coast of Canada and the prairies, and good afternoon to those joining from Eastern Canada. Thank you all so much for taking the time to join us today. Before we get started, I would like to take a moment to read a land acknowledgement, which acknowledges the land specifically where the EcoSchools office and staff are located. We ask that you also take a moment wherever you may be to reflect on the land that you are on right now. EcoSchools Canada recognizes that we live and work on the territories of the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Wendat. Our office is located in Toronto, which is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Treaty. We commit to upholding our responsibilities and relations to the enduring presence of all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit across Turtle Island. So we'll now be able to introduce your hosts for today. I'm going to just share my webcam right now just to show you that there is a face behind the screen. Hello, how are you everybody? And I'll ask Melanie to do the same as well. So my name is Sierra Frick. I'm the program director with EcoSchools Canada, and I will be your host for the webinar today. And I'm so excited to be connecting with all of you. And I'll let Melanie share her introduction as well now.
Of course, thank you. So my name is Saint-Pierre. I'm a sustainability advisor with Cascade. Really happy to be here as well today.
Fantastic, and we're so happy to have Melanie with us, and she'll be specifically joining us at the end of the webinar during our question and answer period, and she'll be able to answer any questions that you might have specifically around best practices around paper recovery and recycling. So happy to have Melanie here today. And now we'll turn off our webcam. So here's the agenda for today. First, we will explore the life cycle of paper and strategies to reduce, reuse, and recycle. Then we will look at Goose Paper, what Goose Paper is, how to make a Goose Paper bin, and how to run Goose Paper action at home or at school, obviously with COVID-19 considerations in place. We will then be sharing ideas on how to extend the learning with fun and interesting activities that can be completed as a class lesson and connected to curriculum, or can be completed at home as a fun activity as well. We'll then be looking at Goose Paper and how this can be claimed in your EcoSchool certification. So we'll talk about how to claim this action in the EcoSchools application, and also how to participate in National Goose Paper Day. At the end of the presentation, as I mentioned before, we will be hosting a short Q&A where we will be joined by Melanie, who will be able to answer any of your outstanding questions about paper recycling and best practices around paper recovery, and I'll be able to answer any questions that you might have around EcoSchools and EcoSchool certification. And finally, we'll say goodbye. Okay, let's get started by learning a little bit about paper and why it's so important to reduce, reuse, and recycle. So what's the big deal with paper anyway? Well, did you know that paper use is increasing around the world, even with the rise of digital devices and technology? In fact, in Canada, paper and paper products account for more than 1/3 of Canada's waste every year. At the same time, recycled paper production uses 33% less energy and releases 37% less CO2 than conventional paper production. What this means is that by implementing simple strategies at school and at home, like using both sides of your paper, ensuring that you're recycling your paper after it is used, trying to reduce the amount of paper you use, and sourcing post-consumer paper, you're helping to reduce your ecological footprint. To get a deeper understanding of how reducing, reusing, and recycling paper has an impact on the environment, we will take some time now to explore the life cycle of recycled paper. To understand the life cycle of paper, it's good to start with a basic definition of life cycle analysis, or also known as LCA, which is a method for assessing the environmental impacts associated with all the stages of a product's life. So for example, In the case of a manufactured product, environmental impacts are assessed from raw material extraction and processing through the product's manufacture, distribution, and use to the recycling or final disposal of the material. Similarly, the circular economy is an economic system aimed at eliminating waste and the continual use of resources. Unlike the traditional take and make model, a circular economy thrives on a reuse and recycle model. A circular approach to paper production ensures paper products are recycled rather than being landfilled, which in turn eliminates the need to continually cut down forests to make new paper products. This approach helps to conserve vast quantities of trees, water, and energy while reducing greenhouse gas emissions and other pollutants into the atmosphere. There are 5 main steps in the life cycle or circular journey of recycled paper. These include recovery, sorting and baling, repulping, paper products, and finally recycling again. And so now we'll take a deeper look at these 5 different steps. The circular journey of recycled paper begins with recovery, when paper is collected from a variety of recycling programs, including municipal, retail, manufacturing, commercial, and other private companies. Items that are collected include things like cardboard, boxboard, office paper, flyers, books and magazines, toilet paper rolls, and other paper and boxboard products. Step 2 is the sorting and baling of paper. Once collected, the paper products arrive at a material recovery facility, which is also known as a MRF or an MRF, where they are sorted and all contaminants are removed. Then all grades of paper are tied into large blocks called bales and sorted until they are ready to be shipped to a paper mill. The third step is repulping, where the bales are added to a large tub with water, similar to a very large blender. The materials are then mixed together to form a slushy pulp, which is often called slurry. The slurry is cleaned to remove unwanted items such as plastic and metal contaminants, and then the clean pulp is filtered, pressed by huge rollers, and dried. And the result is a large spool of recycled paper that can weigh as much as 10 school buses. Then, the fourth step is the creation of new paper products. Depending on the type of paper that is being pulped, like cardboard or white paper, the finished rolls of paper are sent to specialized production facilities that transform the paper into a wide range of different paper products that people then use every day. Here are a few examples of what products are created with materials you put into the recycling bin at school and also at home. So newspaper is turned into things like egg cartons and to-go cup trays. White paper is turned into bathroom and facial tissue. And cardboard boxes are turned into paper hand towels and also into cardboard boxes again. The final step is recycling the product again. Once these paper products have been used, the discarded paper material are collected through various recycling programs, and the circular process begins again. What we can see from learning about the journey of paper is that your choices do make a difference. By recycling your paper, you are helping to reduce energy, water use, chemical use, pollution, and solid waste, all while reducing the pressure on forests that play a vital role in addressing climate change. Likewise, the more you choose products made from post-consumer content, the more products are made from recycled materials, which means less impact on the environment as well. It is, of course, always important to consider the 3 R's hierarchy, which prioritizes our actions to reduce our overall impact on the environment. So it is important to always start with reducing, followed by reusing and then recycling. By reducing first, we avoid making waste in the first place. Now that we've had a chance to look at the life cycle of paper and the importance of reducing, reusing, and recycling paper, let's talk Goose Paper. So the first question to answer is, what is Goose Paper? Well, Goose stands for good on one side. Goose paper is paper that has been used on one side but is still blank and usable on the other side. When people use goose paper, it means that they are ensuring that both sides of their paper are used before it's recycled. A very simple practice. Goose paper can be used in many ways, for example, for doodling or drawing pictures, for planning, note-taking, and making lists, for test paper or for writing practice, and also for making other fun paper craft projects like notepads or DIY paper. And by using both sides of our paper, we're helping to reduce pollution and the creation of solid waste, all while protecting forests. We think here at EcoSchool that one of the best ways to collect goose paper is by using or making a goose paper bin. And a goose paper bin simply is something that collects and stores your goose paper in a convenient and accessible location to ensure it can be easily used. The bin can be as simple as a box or a basket, but you also can get creative and decorate goose bins with a goose theme or other eye-catching styles like this creative goose bin on the screen, which was made by a school in Ontario. This bin was actually made from a Rubbermaid container, so it's big enough to collect the large quantities of goose paper that this classroom created throughout the year. A fun goose paper bin that is strategically placed can encourage people to use both sides of their paper before it's recycled. Here are a few more examples of goose paper bins for ideas and inspiration. The bins on the screen here are actually fairly simple bins that have been converted from old white bins, paper boxes, and magazine holders into goose bins with a simple sign. So here you can see that a bin can be quite discreet and easily stored on a table or a shelf out of the way. These bins are a little more creative, as you can see. Some bins can be made from quite large cardboard boxes when serving a larger group of people. And they can also be made from things like cereal boxes. Cardboard boxes and cereal boxes are really great options when thinking about a material that you might want to use when making a goose paper bin for your home or your school. Now that we've gone over some of the importance of not just reducing, reusing, and recycling paper, but the fundamentals of goose paper, we're now going to talk about how to make goose paper bins, which is, of course, a really fun activity that can be conducted at home or at school. Making goose paper bins for your home or school can be a great way to raise awareness about the importance of reducing, reusing, and recycling paper. And making these bins can be something that is conducted by a class. It can be conducted by several classes or even a whole school. It can also be conducted by a household or workplaces where participants can create goose paper bins for their class, their individual use at their desk, or for use at home or the workplace or office. Before making goose paper bins, it's good to start off by doing a little research about why it's important to reduce, reuse, and recycle paper. It's a good prompt to get people thinking about this important topic. This activity can also be easily connected to various curricula. So, for example, art, science, or geography lessons. As an example, in a science class, you can explore the life cycle of paper and determine how to close the loop. In an art class, you can create goose paper bins and corresponding posters to communicate the importance of the 3 R's. Or in a geography class, you can investigate the impact of resource use, specifically forest harvesting in Canada, and then determine ways to preserve forests and reduce the environmental impacts of paper production. So when you're making your bin, it's time to get crafty and creative. All you'll need to do is gather your construction and design materials. For the bin, as I mentioned before, consider using something like an old cereal or appliance box. And for decoration, you can use whatever is around, such as pencil crayons or markers or even some scrap paper. And then you can get crafting to create and decorate goose bins with fun designs if that's what you choose to do. And finally, we always would suggest that you make a sign to include with simple instructions on how to use the goose bin if the bin will be used by more than one person. It's important to note that this activity can and of course should be conducted with COVID-19 safety measures in place. This activity can be done from home during remote learning and can also be conducted in cohort learning, ensuring that students maintain physical distancing, wear masks, wash hands regularly, and use hand sanitizer when necessary. If you're conducting this activity at school, have students construct goose paper bins with materials from their home for individual use at their desk. Students can also get creative by making individual goose paper folders to store their goose paper in, which might take up a little less space at their desk. If students are constructing their bins at home, have them construct the bins with materials that they find around the home and place them strategically around the house, like in a kitchen or a home office. And students can, of course, invite their family and friends to join in. No matter how or where you make a goose bin, it's important to get the word out about this fun activity and the importance of the 3 R's. So this can be done through an e-newsletter at school or through an email from home. You can also choose to post pictures and facts on your school website or over social media about why using goose paper helps the environment, or you can have students create an online presentation for other classes to show how to make and use a goose bin. There are also a ton of other ways to extend the learning of your goose bin lesson or campaign. And some examples of this include carrying out an audit of paper use in your class or at your home and documenting the results on a graph. Then you can determine a plan to improve these practices and create a presentation to share with your class or your family by writing a song, making a presentation, or drafting a short persuasive speech. You can also, of course, research the life cycle of paper. So some questions you might get started with in your research might include, how is paper made? What happens when you recycle paper and cardboard? And what are the environmental benefits to recycling paper? And of course, you can consider downloading the life cycle of paper resource located in the handout section of this webinar to help get you started. Another activity that can be done at home or at school is getting outside to explore nearby nature, whether it be in a backyard, a park, or a forest. You can then pick a setting, take a seat, and observe your surroundings. Think of the many benefits of trees beyond providing us with paper. Then you can draw a picture, take photos, or write about your thoughts and observations. And you can also consider connecting your learning to global initiatives. Research the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which are also known as the SDGs, and create an informative poster about one of the SDGs that best connects to the issue of paper consumption and production. Finally, keep the creativity momentum going by using Goose Paper to make Goose Paper notebooks or your own paper. And we would suggest that you check out the Upcycled Paper Projects resource in the handout section of this webinar for more information. Here you'll find step-by-step instructions on, again, how to make Goose Paper notebooks or your own paper. And this can be a really fun activity at home or in the classroom. Now that we've gone over some fundamental information about paper, we wanted to share the ways in which this can be claimed towards your EcoSchool certification. For those schools who are certifying with the EcoSchools program and using the online application, when you log into your school's application at app.ecoschools.ca, you can navigate to the Action Library. You can then search for paper in the search bar, and the paper actions that are connected to paper will pop up for you to include into your action by clicking the small plus sign in the upper right-hand corner of the newspaper card. So that will add it to your plan. Also, for the select schools that are participating in the virtual school program this year, you can also complete this action towards certification by updating your Google Form application. When you click into the card, the Goose Paper card, you will see everything you need to learn about this action. This includes information about the action, connections to curriculum, and also the SDGs. There is the action guide, which provides simple steps to completing this action, a link to helpful resources, and also the certification questions, which you can complete for a total of 10 points. As mentioned, we have some fantastic resources in the handout section of this webinar. This includes resource guides for in-person and remote schools, also for individuals and families at home, and then a third one for home offices and workplaces. And these toolkits, again, are available in both English and French and provide guidance on making goose paper bins and have great corresponding information and activities that can be easily conducted through both cohort and virtual learning. And likewise, there are these two additional resources, the Life Cycle of Paper and Upcycle Paper projects, which can be downloaded from the webinar in the handout section and are also available in both English and French on our website and through the Goose Paper action in the ECA. And we encourage you to download them and take a look. As mentioned earlier, this action can also be easily connected to the Sustainable Development Goals, known as the SDGs, which are a collection of 17 interlinked global goals designed to be a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. The SDGs were set out in 2015 by the United Nations General Assembly and are intended to be achieved by the year 2030. They recognize that ending poverty must go hand in hand with strategies to improve health and education, reduce inequality, and spur economic growth, all while tackling climate change and working to preserve our oceans and our forests. Most notably, a Goose Paper action can be connected to SDG number 12, which is responsible consumption and production. So there may be no better time to make a Goose Paper bin or run a Goose Paper campaign or teach a Goose Paper lesson than during National Goose Paper Day or leading up to it. On this day of action, you can join other students, teachers, workplaces, and families all across Canada in getting creative and promoting effective ways to reduce, reuse, and recycle paper. And National Goose Paper Day does take place on the first Thursday of April each year, so this year it takes place on April 1st. We will also be running a National Goose Paper Day contest between April 1st and April 8th. For the contest, you can participate by simply showing off your goose paper bins that you've made at home or at school or at your workplace, and for a chance to win some great prizes. All you need to do is take a photo, or you can also take a video to show off your bins and post the image on a social media platform of your choice, so whether that's Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. And then you'll just want to use the hashtag GoosePaperDay21, and then you can also tag EcoSchools Canada in your post as well. There are a total of 7 prizes to be won at random draw. So these include a $100 school microgrant to go towards an environmental initiative of your choice. There are also 3 EcoSchools prize packs consisting of an EcoSchools Canada notebook and tote bag. And we're also giving away 3 tickets to the 2021 Ecom Conference, which is an online conference taking place between April 21st and 24th. And it's chock full of fantastic workshops and sessions focused specifically on Indigenous education, eco-justice education, water education, and city as classroom. So what are the next steps? For those registered on the online platform, add the Goose Paper action to your action plan and get started on running your campaign. For those participating in the virtual school program, decide to run a Goose Paper action or lesson and claim it in your Google form. You can also check out the webpage ecoschools.ca/goosepaperday for more information on this topic. including all the resources shared today and also any contest information that you might be interested in learning about. And again, whether you're participating in the EcoSchools program or not, whether you're an individual or family at home, attending school remotely or in person, or a keen workplace ready to show off your commitment to sustainable practices, you can make a Goose Paper bin and share it over social media and be eligible for fantastic prizes. If you do have any other questions pertaining to National Goose Paper Day, the contest, please feel free to reach out to us as well at programs@ecoschools.ca. So that does bring us to the end of our formal webinar. Before we get to our question and answer session, we wanted to thank you for attending and hope you found it helpful. We also wanted to take the time to thank Cascades for their partnership in running National Goose Paper Day and in creating the associated 5 handouts that you are able to download from this webinar that you can use to support your personal, professional, classroom, and household sustainability journey. So it now brings us to our question and answer time. If you do have any questions, you can click on the question mark icon and type your question. If your question is applicable to all attendees, I will read it aloud, and then the person best suited to answer those questions will respond. I will, of course, answer questions related to EcoSchools and EcoSchool certification, and really take advantage of the fact that Melanie, who's the sustainability advisor for Cascades Canada, is here to answer any questions that you might have related to best practices around paper recovery and recycling. We definitely suggest you take advantage of her expertise and knowledge. Again, if the question is applicable only to you and your class or school, we will respond by a direct message. And both Melanie and I will be here for about 5 minutes. We're about to turn on our webcams to make it a little bit more personable. But if there's, for some reason, we aren't able to get to your questions today, please just be in touch with us again at programs@ecoschools.ca. So I'm going to share my webcam now. And Melanie, if you want to share yours also. So the first question is about if you can put shredded paper and scrap paper into the recycling bin. This person says that they have mixed messages about this. Melanie, I don't know if you'd like to answer this question.
Yeah, there's no black and white answer to this, unfortunately, but most likely the best practice would be to put it in a bag that's transparent so that it can be easily sorted at the sorting facility with the paper. But the best answer to this question would be to check with your local recycling facility. So if it's for your school, you might want to check with your supplier that's collecting the school's materials. And if it's at home, you can check on your city website to see what they think about. You can always reach out also to the people handling the municipality program. They usually have contact emails on their website that you can reach out to and ask the question specifically. But most likely, yes, it's possible, and just put it in a bag because small pieces will just go contaminate all the other streams in the sorting facility if they're into tiny little pieces. Hope this answered the question.
Great, that's fantastic. We have another question here. I believe this one's more for myself, and we are wondering about suggestions for having the broader community get involved. We usually get stuck here for points. So my suggestion here would be to, again, like we suggested, share an email, share a newsletter out with the community, letting them know how they can get involved, how they can create a goose bin for themselves at home or at their schools or within their community. Again, using social media, it's such a great tool to connect with your community to, get the message out about why reducing, reusing, and recycling paper is a fantastic thing to consider. And yeah, so I'd say really trying to harness social media and also other modes of communication in this circumstance would be great. Okay, another question is, I've heard that you cannot put wet paper into the recycling bin. Why is this? Can you if you let it dry first? And Melanie, I'll leave that.
Yeah, that's a good question too. So again, it's always about using common sense. So it depends what's causing the paper to be wet, right? If it's really dirty, if it's contaminants, if it's cleaning products or things that you would think it would affect the quality of the paper in the end. Of course, it's not possible to put it in the recovery because it would contaminate the stream. But there's no, again, black or white answer to this. For example, I think the best example is a pizza box, right? Some municipalities will accept it in the recycling. Some will say to put it in the compost bin. But for us at Cascade, we put pizza boxes in our streams every day in our machines, right, to do new paper products with them. So it's all about the level of how much dirty, how much wet it is. But it's better, and of course, to put paper in the recovery bin if it's clean and dry. But if it's a little wet, a little dirty, don't worry about it.
Great, thank you. Similarly, teachers at our school like to make art with recyclable products. Are these items still recyclable?
I think I missed the beginning of your question.
So teachers at our school like to make art with items with recyclable products. So things that could be going into the recycling bin, they like to make art with those recycled art projects. Are those items still recyclable after the art is created?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think in the resources that you're sharing today with the webinar, it's one of the questions that are being answered. So of course, when you do crafts with paper products, it's best to think about a way for the craft to be taken apart or taken into pieces so that you can sort it into the bin afterwards. So best case scenario would be, for example, to use components that would not affect the paper. So example, glitter or paint. Of course, you cannot take it apart from the paper, but if you're using things that are just glued on the paper, then if you can remove them and still put the paper in the recovery bin, that would be a best practice. So thinking about crafts that can be sorted after their use or their life and be put in the bin when possible.
Fantastic. So we do have another question about what is recyclable. So is construction paper recyclable? Also toilet paper and paper toilet rolls, are they recyclable? I'm unsure. I think the simple answer to that is yes, but Melanie, I'll leave it to you to answer that one.
Yes, exactly. It's all recyclable. So all the rolls inside the tissue paper or the kitchen towel, sorry, that's all recyclable. And same with the construction paper. Again, if it's really like heavily covered in paint or glitter or things that would make the paper not being recovered or recycled in the end, it's better to not put in the recycling. But if it's just a little bit on it, you can put it in the bin for sure.
Fantastic, thank you. There's one question, why doesn't everyone use Goose Paper? It's a good question, Amber. I think some people just don't really think of it, so that's why we do campaigns like this and share webinars like this and suggest that you share your insights as caring eco schools and teachers to share this insight and information with others as well, because it's a very simple practice that can have a very big impact. Okay, and someone just said that they thank you, Melanie, for your answer because they were told that construction paper is not recyclable at their school.
That's weird.
Yeah, I think it would be something similar to what you said, which is as long as there isn't glue or glitter or lots of stuff on the construction paper, it can be recycled. And again, sometimes construction paper is used for craft projects, so it's cut into small shredded paper, similar to the question we had before. It's in little pieces. So to Melanie's point, shredded paper or little scraps of paper, if they're clean, if they can be put into a clear plastic bag before they're recycled, that would be a best practice.
That's really correct.
Okay, fantastic. There's one other question just about recycling paper that has staples in it. Is that?
Yeah, you can put it in the bin. So I don't know if you've ever visited a paper mill, but for us, that's part of recycling paper. So we put all the paper in a big tank, right, with water. So all these little contaminants like the staples, the little I don't know, things that are glued to the paper will all be removed in the process through screening, for example. So it doesn't causes a big issue. Of course, large clips should be removed if you can, but small staples, don't worry about it. They will be removed in the process.
Here's another interesting one for you, Melanie. Can paper that's DIY, so paper you've made yourself, be recycled once it's been used?
Yeah, it depends on how it's been done. If you already used in the beginning recycled paper, so like normal printing paper, if you didn't put pieces of plastic, or if it's really just 100% paper, yes, it's part of what we do at Cascade, right? We will recover paper that some comes from trees, some come from already recycled sources, so it's fiber that can still be put in the mix and recovered and recycled again. So yes, you can, as long as it doesn't have like glitter inside or other heavy contaminants in the recipe that you've done. I know I've seen some homemade paper that can have many things in the recipe.
Okay, great. So this next question is, can this action be completed by one class and claimed for EcoSchool certification? And the answer to that simply is yes. Certification has changed a little this year. And so all actions that exist in the EcoSchool certification application can be conducted by a classroom, several classrooms, an eco team, a whole school, or include the greater community. And there is room for recognition for all of that. And especially considering this year with COVID-19 and some of the restrictions in place on schools in general, especially around cohort learning and classes, we would encourage you as a classroom to complete this action and then claim it in your application. And then if you'd like, you can of course share that action and this action with others in your school or other classrooms if they might be interested in completing it as well. And it looks like we do not have any further questions at this time. So we'll just wait here probably for another 10 or 20 seconds just to make sure no one has any final questions. And I want to thank you again for taking the time to join us. Hopefully you learned something new. Of course, you can always be in touch with us at programs@ecoschools.ca. And thank you so much to Melanie for being with us here today and sharing all of her amazing insight and expertise.
Thanks to you. It was a great opportunity. Thanks to you for putting this together.
Thanks so much. All right, so take care, everyone, and have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.